Okay, thanks for everybody for being here. I know it wasn't that long ago we spoke, except maybe for John Dale. I don't know. I didn't see him there on Saturday, or Connor. Um, I thought we came ready to play against VCU. I was very pleased about that. I thought we got stops when we didn't score. Our shot selection wasn't great during that time frame in the second half. We really had a chance to blow them out, and had a chance because we were at, I think they were in, we could have got to the foul line a lot easier by driving the ball. But I thought we did a really good job of driving the ball through contact to get fouls throughout the majority of the game. I think that's what won the game for us because we made a lot of free throws. And we only turned it over 2 times against their full court pressure, which was really, really important. I think Dallas Walton's playing at a really high level right now. If you go back to the Louisville game, I've jotted this down. He had 22-6. He had 20-12 against NC State, 10-3 against BC, 17-7 against Towson, and 16-7 against VCU. And he's been doing a really good job of playing both ends of the court and playing through contact and the physicality of the games. I think you guys have probably noticed that in postseason play, there's not a lot of fouls called. And so you got to play physical and you got to play tough. And that's not just in the NIT. I think if you watch games on television, you're seeing that as well. And that's something that you got to be aware of and you got to play through. You can't cry about it. Obviously going to Texas A&M means probably a little bit more to me and Thomas than probably anybody else in the program. I worked for Billy Gillespie there. He changed my career. I learned how to really coach under him. No disrespect to all the coaches that I coached under before, but I found my identity under Billy. He changed the trajectory of my career. We had the largest turnaround in college basketball our first year at Texas A&M because they hadn't won a game when we got there in the Big 12. We went 8-8 our first year, and we went to the NIT, and we changed Texas A&M basketball forever, pretty much. Ever since then, they've been really good. I remember big time wins over Texas, went over Syracuse in the NCAA tournament, and then we lost to LSU the next game at the buzzer, and they went to the Final Four. Obviously, Buzz was there with me. Buzz I consider to be a very close friend. He helped me get the head coaching job at East Tennessee State along with Anthony Grant. And so Buzz is somebody that I talked to throughout the year and look forward to seeing him and his wife, Corey, and the kids when we go down there. Alvin Brooks was on our staff. He's also a head coach at Lamar. So we had, 3 Division I head coaches on our staff. Jerence Howard is at the University of Texas. We had great players. AC Law, who was the 10th pick, I believe, in the draft, something like that. He was the Cousy Award winner. He was at our game against NC State here. Just recently at home, he's a scout in the NBA. Antoine Wright was the 15th pick in the draft. He was a great player for us. Joseph Jones, Chris Walker, Josh Carter, Dominique Kirk. But obviously my favorite player was Antanas Kavalauskas. And, I signed him, and he was a really good player. I kind of did him dirty. I left after his junior year, and I went to Tennessee, and that was hard for him. It was hard for me. That was a very tough conversation. But, we've remained close throughout his entire career until I was able to hire him here. He met his wife, Amanda, there. Alex Caruso plays in the NBA, lived right across the street from me. I remember we had a junior high elite camp. And we invited a bunch of kids from Dallas and Houston to come in to camp. So I told Billy I had this little guy across the street I thought we should invite. And he's like, "Who is it?" And I said, it's Alex Caruso. And Alex's dad worked at A&M for a long time. He just retired. And he said, "No, he's not any good." I said, "I'm just telling you, he's pretty good." And then I was right. And he ended up being a pretty darn good player. I'm not always right, but I was right about that. And that was won 10 of the last 12. Reed Arena will be rocking. I remember the 2 NIT games we played there. We beat Clemson, and then we lost in this same game to go to Madison Square Garden against St. Joe's, but it was packed and people were excited. We're going to be on ESPN2, so we have the eyes of the nation. There's no NCAA tournament games. I told them that this week. There's only a certain amount of teams playing. you know, so there'll be no NCAA tournament games to go up against. Quentin Jackson's a great player for him, athletic. I mean, one of the best athletes in the country. I've known him since he was at junior college at Central Florida. Henry Coleman, we know him. He played at Duke, big and strong and tough. Tyrese Radford, we know him well. He gave us headaches last year at Virginia Tech. So they got really good players. They play great defense, no middle. They load to the ball. They blitz the ball screens. They monster from the low side. They're going to make it hard on you. Going to have to play across the midline a lot. They're good one-on-one drivers. And so it's going to be a really a hard, tough fought game. Congrats to Duke and Carolina and Miami for getting to the Sweet 16, and congrats to Virginia. They're in the same position that we're in. I believe they play St. Bonaventure to get to New York City. So after all that, I will open it up for questions.
Steve, when you say that,
go ahead.
When you say that you learned to coach at Texas A&M, I mean, you've been a coach for 15 years at that point. So what do you mean you learned to coach there?
I learned my identity, who I am, to simplify the game and not be a jack of all trades and a master of none, but to simplify, especially defensively. And that's where the identity comes in defensively. You know, the gritty, grimy, tough, the, you know, butt to the ball, belly to the man, stripping and ripping. Just being really tough-minded, gritty, grimy, tough. Our teams were incredibly tough. I mean, we started Chris Walker at the 4 for 2 years. He was a walk-on. We found him in the intramural center. We called him our powerless power forward. And he was one of the toughest dudes you've ever seen in your life. And that's what I remember. I remember being I'm emotional at the end of the year with the teams, but I've never cried so hard after we lost to LSU. And LSU went to the Final Four. They beat Duke in the next game, and they made a really tough shot. Back to Antanas, jumped out on it, the pocket, and Daryl Mitchell rose up and made it for a 3 at the buzzer. And I remember just being distraught afterwards because I was so emotionally tied to those players. You know, I mean, Dominique Kirk didn't have hardly any Division I offers. Neither Josh Carter. You know, and those guys were just really, really good players. And so that toughness thing, you know, and keeping it simple, stupid, which I already kind of knew. I knew that when I learned that my first year in junior college. More is less, less is more. But I was able to compact it and watch Billy coach practice, you know, every day. I owe a lot to him. Billy and I are really close. You know, I talk to Billy a lot, and I consider him a really good friend. And I learned a ton from him. Now, offensively, maybe not as much, but I did run 2 games for a long time at when I was at East Tennessee State, but I've changed since. But I owe a lot to Billy Gillespie.
Do you have a special restaurant picked out that's still there, a favorite place?
Well, my family likes. I had a young. They liked wings and more. It's a good spot there. You know, me and Coach Gillespie and I used to go to the Fox and Hound after the games with the staff. That's a good spot. Now, that changed. I'll tell you a funny story. We used to go in there first year. We go to all the A&M football games and go in there and watch the games. Nobody knew who we were. Nobody. And then that first semester, we went like 10-0. We played bad schedule, you know, and then we went and lost to Kansas 65-60 at Kansas first game. Doug Gottlieb's killing us. We ain't played anybody, blah, blah, blah. And then we beat Texas at home. Next game, I think they're ranked 9th in the country or something. And we walked in the Fox and Hound after the game. I remember all the camera phones going up in the air like this and everybody taking pictures. And I'm like, all right, life's going to change now, you know? And so there's a lot of good spots there. You need to go to the Dixie Chicken. That's an old A&M stomping ground in Aggie across the street over there. You need to ask Antanas. He'll know more about it than me. But that's been a while. It's been a long time since I've been there.
Steve, what have you these 2 games here in the NIT? What do you like best about your team and what they've done? I know you mentioned resiliency after the game the other night, but what's been the best thing?
Just bouncing back, John. You know, just having that sour taste in your mouth and all that, those expectations against Boston College, and then sitting through those really hard 4 days before you didn't get your name called on selection Sunday, just to show that they could bounce back and keep playing. And, you know, it's hard, you know, if you talk to all the coaches that are coaching in these tournaments besides the NCAA tournament, it gets challenging because the season gets really long and you got to keep your guys motivated, right? But I didn't. They just came to play. They've come to practice. They've had great attitude. We're going to be on practice 159 today and 160 tomorrow. Okay. And that doesn't count the games, nor does it count pregame practice. So we're upwards around 200 times that we've been together, right? If you really start thinking about that. And that's why I tell kids all the time in recruiting, you better like to practice more than you play, because you're going to play a heck of a lot more. You're going to practice a heck of a lot more here than you're going to play, especially when you make these deep runs into March. And so I think just that, their attention to, detail and just having a really good spirit about themselves has been really fun for me. And I enjoy coaching them every day. And I would imagine we'll have a great practice today and we'll have a great one tomorrow. And then we'll fly down to College Station and get ready to play.
With so many practices, how do you kind of keep it, keep them interested, basically?
Yeah, I'm a routine guy now. I don't change a lot. I probably a lot more encouraging in practice, and maybe I am early on. A lot more positive reinforcement. And that's, I think people, I'm not sure people really understand when I say a player-led team. Like, I mean, I don't call timeout and let the players run a timeout. I mean, catch a clue here. I mean, what I'm saying by that is they can coach themselves. And like, for instance, like in practice, they know how to correct the problems. I mean, sometimes before I say it, because they're used to doing what we do, and so, I mean, I think that, in this kind of situation, that's kind of what you do. You give them, we go through scenarios, we play a lot more, maybe we scout and then we play. Maybe not as many breakdown drills at this time of year. You just you're trying to stay fresh. And that was a nice thing about playing Wednesday, Saturday. Was we could, and now we're back on a normal schedule, play Wednesday again, right? Before that, we were only played 2 games in 2 weeks. So I think just that in itself, and not going as long, you don't have to go as long, but I don't go that long once we start, league play. We go about an hour and a half, and that counts film and stretching and stuff too. So it's really about an hour live, action. So, and then, maybe we'll just play knockout today. I don't know. I doubt it, but that's what my wife said yesterday, Janetta. She said, why don't you just let them play knockout? I said, yeah, okay. That'll work real well.
Is dirty knockout allowed or just regular knockout? There's dirty knockout.
I'm not quite positive what dirty knockout is, and maybe we better wait till we get off the Zoom to talk about that. I don't know.
Well, that's where you can box out and all that stuff.
Oh, I kind of like that. So maybe we'll try that. Dirty knockout. I don't know. Maybe.
Steve, as you've watched, I guess, at least some of what's transpired in the NCAA this last week, do you kind of see, are you more affirmed that the ACC was a better league than what the so-called experts and the NCAA selection committee has deemed it this season?
Yeah, I mean, I think I would have felt that way anyway. I mean, it's an upper echelon league. It's never going to change. Now, there's always going to be ebb and flow and up and down and narrative and all that. But, I tend to have to agree with what Coach Larinaga said and has been saying it, that we do have a lot of new faces in the league, and it takes time for those teams to come together. And you've heard me say a million times, you're either getting better or getting worse, right? And so, it takes teams time to get going. And, I guess the funny part about the narrative to me is, in one breath, they're saying, well, the what you do in the tournament doesn't matter. Like I'm talking about the conference tournaments, right? You'll have some people say, well, those don't matter. Well, then why does it matter what we do in the first week in November? What's the difference? It's just what you want to. It's just, this is why I said it from the beginning. I don't pay a lot of attention to that stuff because it doesn't really make sense to me. There's no rhyme or reason to any of that stuff. And so I'm a part of the ACC. I know how good it is. I'm the one that has to get the team ready every night to play. I know what I'm looking at down across the way down there on the other bench. And I know there's some really good teams. And guys, I've been saying it all along that how good Miami is. I've not one time said they weren't really good. And I've told national people that, but they don't want to listen. And now they'll listen, everybody knows Duke's been good. Carolina, Hubert's done an unbelievable job of keeping that team rolling in the right direction with a lot of pressure and a lot of, noise. He's done an unbelievable job in his first year, and I'm real happy for him. And they're playing at a high level, and Coach K, with all the noise around their deal with his retirement, those players have stayed focused and they made some big time plays down the stretch against a very good, well coached Michigan State team. So, and I was really rooting hard for Notre Dame. They had a great chance, and really truthfully, Texas Tech didn't score any points from the field. That was all at the free throw line there at the end. And, Texas Tech is a really good defensive team. And I do think that the league, the way they officiate the games in the tournament helps teams like Texas Tech because they're really physical, and that they foul a lot. And, they have a good reputation for defending. And so it helps them. And so, but I was really rooting hard for them. I love this scene for in there. And I'm happy Tony, Ben is in the same situation that we're in at Virginia. And so you just got to play it out, man. But it sounds good to beat up on the ACC. It's fun to do, I guess. And so maybe we need somebody that, for our league, that creates the narrative a little bit better than what we're creating right now. And I think that's something that we need to address as a whole in our spring meetings.
Steve, I noticed at the end of the game Saturday evening, you took a stroll around Joe Coliseum and said, I guess, goodbye and thank you to all the fans. Why was it important for you to make that's not a journey you go on after every game, but you did Saturday?
Well, I mean, really wasn't expecting to come back. I thought after the NC State game it was goodbye, and I guess the nice thing too was I got to come back and people didn't have to wear a mask anymore. So it was the first time I've ever seen anybody working with me in there that didn't have a mask on. I actually know what they look like. I don't know. I just wanted to thank everybody for coming. It's been a really fun year. 18 home wins is the most in school history, and we've had tremendous support. It's gotten better and better and better, right? And NIT crowds are hard to get. They won't be hard Wednesday night, but they're having free admission, and it's a Wednesday night, and it's Saturday. It's great weather. There's a lot going on. The NCAA tournament is going on. There's all kinds of things, and I was really happy and pleased for the people that came. I thought they had great energy, and I thought they really helped us win the game. And so and there was a lot of the same faces I've seen all year long. And so I'm very appreciative of where we're at this point in time. Will it get better? Can it get better? Sure it will. Sure it will. And it's going to, but you got to start somewhere. And I didn't want that to go unnoticed how much I appreciated everybody that was in that building on Saturday.
You mentioned a couple Mondays in a row here that you're looking for a personality to kind of speak positively about the ACC. Like, I'm curious, is that somebody on the TV side of things? Like, is that where you would look there?
I mean, that's probably the loudest voice, Connor, because most people are going to be tuned into, that medium. No disrespect to what you guys do. I read all your guys, but the normal person, fan probably doesn't. And so, yeah, I think the talking head, the ESPN, the ACC network, whoever that is, I mean, I can tell you that Sean Farnham is carrying the banner for the Pac-10 or Pac-12. I'm so old, it used to be the Pac-8, whatever it was. I know that Fran Fraschilla is beating the drum for the Big 12. I know Jimmy Dykes beats it for the SEC, and the Big 10 has their own network. They've got their own litany of people that are going to speak very highly. There's probably somebody, I'm just drawing a blank on the Big 10, but we can't take for granted just that we're the ACC and that we're the best league in the country, that has the best tradition, the most history, the most national championships, the most NBA players. I can go bam, 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 but somebody's got to be beating that drum and not allowing some of these uninformed people to beat up on us like that, like tweeting out one bid league. I mean, that's just ridiculously stupid, but people were doing it, and national people were doing it. And it doesn't probably affect the, how many bids we get or whatever, but it does affect sometimes the narrative of our league. And I think we have to be, I think we should be very protective of that. We have a great thing, an unbelievable tradition. Now, granted, I haven't been a part of it for very long, but I feel like I should be a caretaker of that. And I will be as long as I'm the coach of Wake Forest.
Yeah, to be clear, I was not trying to throw my hat into the ring there. I'll stay on the objective side of things.
All for it. I'm all for it. You know, I'm not saying you gotta be rah-rah, you know what I mean? I think you have to be objective about it, but you can always highlight the good things too, you know, and so I just don't think we did a very good job of that this year.
Anything else for Coach? All right, looks like that'll do it.
All right, guys. See you in College Station.
Thank you.